I am an Uber driver and my last client was not normal. Growing up I heard many stories of demons and angels as I grew up in a very religious household. But that is not relevant to my first encounter with a demon. I am an Uber driver, so I often bring young kids home from the bar on a late Friday night. This was like every other stop that I have had as an Uber driver. I pulled up outside of a popular nightclub and my client opened the passenger side door. It was odd that he sat up front. Most people just get in the back. His ride was a bit farther than the normal distance that I like to travel, but it was close to my home and it was almost 3 a.m. so I was about done for the night. After he got in I started to head towards his destination roughly 31 m away. I typically like to make small talk with my passengers and I looked in his direction and noticed that he was dressed very formally for your typical nightclub kid. He was probably around 27 and 6 feet 3 inches. And his face seemed to be quite handsome. So in an attempt to start some small talk I asked him, "So did you have a good night, Kyle?" I got his name from Uber when I picked him up. "Not terrible, I got what I needed but hoped that I would receive more," he said in a deep but very reassuring voice. I don't know how to describe this, but it felt very trustworthy. Similar to a fatherly-like tone. "How has your night been? Had any interesting encounters tonight?" he said. "No, not for me," I replied, showing him my wedding ring. 18 years happy and counting, I responded. He waited for a moment and said, "Is that really true? Did you not cheat on your wife Samantha 3 years ago after a fight that you had about money because she lost her job?" I looked at the GPS and it said 26 m. "I am not sure what you are talking about," I replied with a stern tone in my voice. I increased the volume of the music on my steering wheel. This was not possible. I must just be hearing things since it was so late. No one knows that I had an affair and it was a mistake. He must have just had a really good guess, I thought. "Would it cause you despair if she found out?" he said. "There would be nothing to find out because that didn't happen and we are happy," I replied. "True, it wouldn't make much of a difference because she has been aware since early last year. Stephanie works at the new firm that she works at. I never understood how humans forgive each other for such betrayal, a truly despicable quality." We hit a stoplight and I slammed on the brakes and exclaimed loudly, "Who the fuck are you? What do you want from me?" Visibly angry at this time. Glancing at the GPS 18 m until arrival. The man took a moment to straighten himself in his seat after the sudden stop. "Please refrain from outbursts of anger. I have no use for anger, what I am interested in is your sins," he said, almost sounding annoyed. Like he was supposed to be the one that was annoyed in this situation. "So then what do you want? What do I have to give you to leave me and my family alone?" I said. He smiled a large smile. "I do not want anything from you. I would much prefer to make a deal instead if you are interested," he said. "It doesn't feel like I have much choice. What kind of deal do you want?" I glanced at the time, 11 minutes until arrival. "What I want is your sins," he said with a slur like a snake. "You want my sins? What does that even mean? You want me to confess to you like some kind of priest?" I replied, only getting angrier. "Quite the opposite actually. I would like you to commit sins in my name and I will reward you equivalently to the sin that you have committed. How does that sound?" I checked the time, 3 m left. I just wanted this crazy man out of my car at this point and just wanted to keep him talking so that I could drop him off and head home. Yeah, sure, can you give me the rest of the details and I will give you all of my sins," I said in an overly dramatic tone. The man smiled ear to ear. "Great. This makes my night a good night, sir. If you accept, please take my card and keep it with you as you commit your sins. It would be even better if you say my name as it is printed on the card when you do it. I will visit you again next year at this time to collect. I should also mention, if I return and I am not satisfied with what you have to offer me, I will take something else as payment and never visit you again." I then pulled up to the location that he requested to be dropped off at. It was just an old 24H diner just off the highway. "Yes sure Kyle, we're here, so get out," I said. "Wonderful," he said as he placed a card on my seat as he got out and I peeled out of there. The next year was rather difficult for me. I hit a man with my car by accident, killing him. I then became quite the alcoholic and this affected my marriage. My wife and I had another fight and I ended up spending the night at a hotel with a lady of the night. I stepped outside the hotel for a smoke. Another bad habit that I had picked up along the way. I lit my cigarette and took a puff when I heard a familiar voice. Absolutely marvelous, my new attendant of sin. I truly did not expect products such as this from you. Kyle said in an almost overjoyed tone. Manslaughter, infidelity, addiction, and neglect. I never imagined that you would produce such fruits. For such miraculous contributions to myself I will grant you 3 rewards. What can I do for you in return for such quality sins? I stumbled back, almost dropping my cigarette. What the hell? How? What are you doing here? How did you find me? What are you talking about? I yelled. Why, whatever do you mean? It is 3:31 a.m. on the same day as the last as I said I would return. I am here to collect and reward just as I promised. A demon never goes back on his word. Now tell me what it is that you wish for in reward as part of our deal. He replied. Wait, you're a demon. I said. Indeed I am, specifically a demon that is in need of sins, and you are going to give me some quite valuable sins. Now what would you like as your reward so that I may collect your sins? Wait, hold up, what do you mean? I never kept you card shit, I almost completely forgot about you, just leave me alone and get away from me. I yelled at him. He then looked down at the ground and I felt very uneasy. Even though he was standing several parking spaces away from me, I felt very unsafe. Do you remember what I told you would happen if you did not fulfill your end of our arrangement? And you did keep my card. It has been in your car this entire time, you never got rid of it, and that means that you accepted our deal. The very car that you committed these very sins. I will take from you the equivalent of what I am owed today if you do not agree. I started to speak, but he began to walk towards me and cut me off. Have you ever heard the human saying, do not write checks that you cannot cash? He was standing right in front of me now and looked me in the eyes. I could see his eyes were pitch black, consuming any light that was around them. I will ask you once more, do you wish to select your payment, or would you rather I take mine? He said this in a deep bellow that sent shivers down my spine. I stumbled back and almost pissed myself. He was very serious. I was terrified of him and I had no idea what he was going to do. So I screamed. Yes. Yes. But I don't know what I want, please just leave me alone. Kyle then calmed a bit. Spoke in a much calmer tone. Well, you do have great sins to offer, but since you bear such fruit I can't exactly just let you go. The sins you will produce in the future are worth much more to me than that. I can also not influence your decision. You must make it, and my patience is wearing thin. Thinking fast, I just blurted out what came to my mind as I was terrified and just wanted him to leave his eyes, his eyes. I swear to you that they were the most unnatural thing that I had ever seen. Like he had black holes where his eyes should be. So I just said the first 3 things that came to my mind. Money. Safety. And health. Now please just go. Kyle smiled and his eyes went back to normal. Very well. I will grant you money, safety, and health in exchange for your sins. Please let this be easier next year. I then blinked and I woke up in my bed at home with my wife. The demon kept true to his words. No one remembered the sins that I committed that the demon had taken from me that night. Everyone forgot about the man that I hit with my car. I felt no need to drink or smoke. My wife forgot all about the fight that we had the other night. He also made true his rewards, as he called them. That same day a bank account with $10 million in it was opened in my name. My body became athletic and I probably lost 65 pounds overnight. I was in sheer awe at everything that had happened. I fell down the stairs that morning because I was too bewildered to realize that I had missed a step. When I hit the bottom and got back up I felt no pain, not even a bruise. Kyle, or his real name that I came to learn later, Calcifer, would visit me every year to collect my sins and make them as if they never happened, and would then reward me for it. It has been almost 55 years since I met Calcifer in the passenger seat of my Uber. I have committed many sins in his name. I have yet to disappoint him yet, and I do not want to find out what happens if I do. But the one thing that I know for sure. Once you make a deal with the devil there is no turning back, all of these deals are eternal. I have now lived over 100 years. My wife died 8 years ago. I am getting old again and I will no longer request youth as a gift from Calcifer. At first I thought this was a great deal, I could do anything with no consequences. But year after year he continues to take my sins and slowly taken my emotions along with it. I will continue to fulfill my end of this deal until I die. I no longer wish to live. There is no point because without knowing Calcifer took something that I didn't know I even had. The ability to make mistakes in my life is almost completely without consequence. I no longer even know what the difference between right and wrong is. There is no point to anything anymore. Demons will take things you didn't even know that you had to lose. Never make a deal with a demon, you never know what they really take in return.